Hello everyone. Very good evening to everyone. We'll wait for another minute just for others to join because I see people are still joining in. We'll start the presentation in another 1 to 2 minutes max. Hope my screen is visible to everyone. Can someone
Yeah.
confirm?
Yes, it is visible.
Thanks,
Yes,
Ravi.
Himanshu.
Thanks, Ravi. All right, everyone. I think we should be able to start now because I see a lot of people already have joined in. Will not be justice for people who are already here. Shall we? Right. Okay, welcome everyone to the third session of Navigating Net Zero. Today we are going to talk about BRSR, which we consider as a new age of sustainability reporting in India, and we'll see why we are talking about as the next frontier. Um, Before we get into BRSR, of course, it's really important to get into a bit of a history of sustainability reporting in India. In particular, when we talk about voluntary disclosures, till the early 2000s, there wasn't much in terms of sustainability disclosures. And after 2000, up till 2012, which is when SEBI came out with BRR, which is Business Responsibility Reporting, there wasn't much to in terms of sustainability reporting. Now, this is the time when a lot of research and development was happening in terms of sustainability reporting, and we see a lot of development have happened in during 2020 to 2020, sorry, 2010 to 2020. We can see GRI, which was existing from 1997, which was founded in 1997, released its first standards in 2016. Similarly, you can see TCFD, which was founded in 2015, released its first set of recommendations in 2017. Uh, SASB, which is also a very well-known standard, was founded in 2011, released the first conceptual framework in 2013. CTP, which has been there since 2000, released the first climate change disclosure in 2002. Of course, this was before the SEBI's BRR, but we see its adoption later in the second half of the in terms of after 2010, in fact. Similarly, when we talk about integrated reporting, this came in 2010, and the framework was published in 2013. And while all of this was happening at SEBI, people were already talking about sustainability reporting in a sense because the BRR was based on the Ministry of Corporate Affairs notification, which came in July 2011, which talked about the 9 principles of NVGs. These were national voluntary guidelines which were aligned with the national priorities of India. And they spoke about ethics, transparency, sustainability in products and services, employee well-being, human rights, environment, public advocacy, customer value, and all the 9 principles that we currently see in the BRSR framework. So we see that SEBI had taken the initiatives well before some of the well-known sustainability reporting frameworks which were present at that point of time. Now, SEBI released the first set in 2021. In May 2021, SEBI said that we are going to introduce BRSR, and that is when the framework also came in, and it was mandated for 1,000 companies in 2022. Now, this is something which is noteworthy because it was required uh, at that point of time. If you were an ESG professional, you would see that the first question that people would ask is which one to go for, which sustainability reporting to go for, and that is something that I think SEBI has solved for us. In terms of the completeness, in terms of standardization, in terms of many other aspects, I think SEBI has nailed it in and brought everything together, right? So, looking at the history of sustainability reporting in India, I think SEBI is turning a corner right now. Now, when you compare it to the various sustainability reporting standards that are currently available, I think there are a few noteworthy differences. Number one, of course, being its mandatory nature. So BRSR is mandatory, whereas others are not. Most of these are voluntary, except for a few which may be, like for example, in case of TCFD, it may be adopted by a certain country to be mandated, but in itself they are voluntary. The second notable difference is in terms of the approach of materiality, wherein the BRSR talks about the stakeholder-driven or national level materiality, whereas the others talk about either double materiality or it is financial materiality. Like for example, in case of SASB or in case of even TCFD, where it talks about climate materiality linked to the finances. CDP, on the other hand, is just the environmental impact that it talks about. Lastly, it's the scope, which is in case of BRSR, right now it is applicable to the top 1,000 Indian companies. And in case of the others, since they are not mandatory, they're not actually linked to any numbers. But I think in terms of BRSR's impact, I think it is going beyond 1,000 Indian companies because it addresses the ESG disclosure in the supply chain as well, and thereby it has a huge reach. I think SEBI has done a wonderful job by targeting the top 1,000 companies and thereby also affecting the others which are servicing these two top 1,000 companies. Eventually, I think there will be a larger adoption. Now, let's quickly talk about the BRSR framework itself. Now, when we talk about the framework, there are three sections in terms of the disclosure requirements. The first being the general information, which has got about 24 questions. These include informations like company's activities, the employee numbers, turnover and its breakup, transparency and disclosure compliances, as in which transparency or which principles we are reporting or the company is reporting on, the risks and opportunities related to the identified material issues for that particular company. These are some of the things that is covered in the general information. When we talk about the management and process disclosures, these are 12 questions which are primarily related to mapping of BRSR principle with respect to the policies and management processes, and also the governance, leadership, and oversight of this particular company. It also includes information on non-coverage of principles for the policies and management processes, and it asks whether if you are not disclosing or if you're not adopting a particular principle, what is the reason that we are not doing it. Thereafter, it is the principle-wise performance disclosure, which has got 9 principles. These are about 104 questions broken into essential indicators as well as leadership indicators. Essential indicators are 62 in numbers, whereas leadership or voluntary indicators are 42 in numbers. Now, so essential indicators are basic and leadership indicators are basically connected to each other because leadership indicators are kind of an extension of essential indicators, wherein you provide more information on the same KPIs. Let's deep dive into the principles of BRSR framework. Uh, let's talk about the principle one, which is the business conduct and governance. So, principle one says businesses should conduct and govern themselves with integrity and in the manner that is ethical, transparent, and accountable. This is the section where BRSR seeks information related to training and awareness of BRSR principle to all the employees of the company. Any fines and penalties that are incurred in that particular financial year as well as the previous financial year, and initiatives related to anti-corruption, anti-bribery, the related policies, and other information. Principle 2 talks about the goods and services and the operation in terms of sustainable and safe operation of goods and services. These include information related to R&D expenditure of the company, sustainable sourcing, which is one of the key aspect in terms of circularity, extended producer responsibility, which originally originated in the European Union but has now been adopted by India also, and the LCA. So I think these are something which are very important in terms of addressing circularity. Thereafter, we have principle 3, which talks about businesses should respect and promote well-being of the employee. This also adheres to the well-being of employee in the value chain of the company as well. Apologies. Now here in particular, the information that is seeked is the well-being initiatives of the company, which includes insurances, workplace accessibility, career development, as well as safety-related incidents and complaints. Then there is principle 4, which talks about the stakeholder management or stakeholder interaction, and in particular, those stakeholders which are disadvantaged, vulnerable, and marginalized. Now, here it is interesting to see that the information that they seek is in terms of engagement with the stakeholders, the communication that is outgoing, and any type of feedback that they are receiving from these skilled stakeholders. Principle 5 is all about human rights, how the businesses are attacking the human rights uh, problem. The information here is on employee training on human rights, minimum wage, the complaints related to human rights, and related grievance addressal mechanisms. Principle 6 is all about the environment, and this is one of the biggest section of BRSR framework. Now, this particular section uh, talks about the energy consumption, water consumption, pollution, emissions, waste management, as well as biodiversity. So a lot of KPIs over here, both broken down into leadership and essential indicators. Uh, so noteworthy is the GHG emissions is something that is covered in this particular section. Thereafter, we have principle 7, which talks about engaging and influencing public and regulatory policies. Now, this is primarily to ensure that there is a fair game and the company, because of its power, is not influencing the policies. The information that is uh, required over here is the affiliation in terms of trades and industry chambers and the initiatives on anti-competitive conduct of the company. Then there is principle 8, which is talking about promoting inclusive growth and equitable development. Now, this is primarily related to social impact assessments and any rehabilitation and resettlement that is undertaken because of the activities of the company. If there are any adverse impacts to the society, then how is the company tackling the same, and what rehabilitation and resettlement initiatives are undertaken. Ultimately, Principle 8 talks about the corporate social responsibility, and that has been known to everyone since very long. Last but not least is Principle 9, which talks about engaging and providing value to the customers in a responsible manner. Again, here the information is related to consumer complaints, initiatives on cybersecurity, data privacy, and other. such aspects. So this is all about the 9 principles of BRSR framework. This structured approach by SEBI saves a lot of time for people like us who wonder which KPIs to choose for in terms of reporting a company's sustainability objectives or measures. And that is where BRSR has solved a lot of problems, wherein it has provided with a lot of KPIs which are useful, which are relevant as per the Indian context, and which makes sense. This way, it becomes really easy for comparing one BRSR report with another and seeing which initiatives a company takes in. Another very important aspect of BRSR is the initiative on XBRL format, which is Extensible Business Reporting Language. Now, this is something uh, that has been adopted in the EU after the release of EU taxonomy. In fact, CSRD is also pushing towards the same format. Now, XBRL format is something that is moving towards standardization. Basically, it provides a consistent structure for financial and sustainability data reporting. A very big aspect of XBRL is its machine readability. Now, any report which is published in XBRL format, it is easy to pinpoint what data is associated with which KPI because of the taxonomy that is being followed. In the Europe, it is EU taxonomy. Here, BSR makes it really easy, and that is one of the reason that uh, doing research or doing comparing two companies or multiple companies becomes really easy. So machine readability of these reports is something really good. In fact, if you have the XBRL format, you can train chatbots to read these reports and fetch you specific data and compare. It is very easy in terms of customization. So organizations or even regulatory bodies can use this particular format for their own requirements. They can hone it down, or they can change the requirement as per the industries, and XBRL will definitely take it further. Lastly, transparency is something that is being promoted through XBRL format, because now you don't have to actually read the entire report or sustainability report of a company and fetch data and put it in the form of an Excel or tables to actually compare two similar companies. Rather than you can do it through XBRL. Uh, I can give you one example because I took the 2023 BRSR data dump from the National Stock Exchange, and these are some of the things which I could take out from that particular data, which was about 996 companies, data from 996 companies, where I could in one go tell that 98% of the companies have reported their scope and 1 and scope 2 emissions data. Out of the 996 companies, 74% have reported their scope 3 emissions data. Only 20% have assured their scope 1 and scope 2 emissions data, and only 17% have assured their scope 3 emissions data. So you can see that extracting such information, doing comparative analysis, making research papers is really easy. And this is from the perspective of investors becomes really easy. So they can easily have their investment decisions through these kind of analysis. So these are just basic information, and you can deep dive in. You can check out whether from a previous year to this year, whether scope 1 and scope 2 emissions have increased or decreased, whether or not scope 3 emissions has increased or decreased. This is just in terms of emissions. You can go to waste, water, in terms of complaints, whether they have risen or they have decreased. So we can do all of these comparative analysis. Let's move on to BRSR core. This is another initiative of SEBI, wherein the first part of moving the companies or getting the companies to disclose sustainability information was done through the BRSR framework. But now the SEBI wants companies to also assure their data, and that is where they brought in BRSR core. So BRSR core requires the top 150 listed companies which would have already disclosed the data, and they would have assured the data for the 2023-2024 data. Now, of course, the plan is to include all 1,000 listed entities by 2026-2027. And what BRSR core is promoting is to improve consistency, comparability, and reliability of the sustainability data disclosures by companies. So this is something that is key to BRSR core. There are about 9 categories and about 30 identified parameters which are to be assured as part of BRSR core. Now these include GHG footprint, which is right now it is scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. Water footprint, which talks about the consumption and intensity. The energy footprint, which is consumption, intensity, and renewable energy percentage. Circularity, which is primarily in terms of waste and its disposal, which includes information on plastic waste, e-waste, biomedical waste, construction and demolition waste, battery waste, radioactive waste, and other hazardous waste. Along with that, waste intensity and how the waste is being disposed. Uh, that is something that is covered in this particular section. Thereafter, it is employee well-being and safety. Uh, Again, here it is talking about the LTIFR, which is a known parameter, permanent disability, and fatalities. Uh, Another section is gender diversity in business. This includes information on female wages, POSH compliance, thereafter enabling inclusive development. This is again talking about MSME and SME, local procurement of raw materials, and local job creation. Thereafter, it is fairness in engaging with customers and suppliers, uh, which includes information on data breaches and account payables. And lastly, openness in business. You can see that the 9 principles are covered over here in terms of BSR core as well. And very key or very essential parameters are to be assured by third-party companies or entities, and this has to be a reasonable assurance. Now, having covered the entirety of BRSR framework and BRSR core, I think it's safe to say that at Sustainium, we also intend to help the customers do their BRSR reporting, and which is why we have kind of developed a platform which allows companies to report their BRSR, first develop their BRSR and then report it. And this is done in an automated fashion, because we all know that data collection is something that is key in terms of formation of any report, any sustainability report. Here, the data can be fetched through assigning users, wherein if you want financial information, you go to the finance department. If you want procurement related information, you go to the procurement department. All of these are assigned into the system, and you can ask for that information from the relevant person and seek that information. And also the system allows for assurance through the portal itself. So these are some of the key screenshots. You can see section A, B, and C. The data can be captured, they can be processed, and we can have a separate module or a separate login for data assurance from third parties. Um, One screenshot of principle-wise performance disclosure for principle 6, wherein we have shown how essential indicators are taken up, uh, and the data is entered over here. So these are some of the key screenshots of our particular platform. And to sum it up, I think BRSR is a very good initiative by SEBI due to its structured principle-based disclosures, interoperability with international reporting frameworks, and the initiative towards XBRL to promote transparency. There is a long way in terms of adoption of BRSR for the actual use, because I understand that companies are right now doing their own sustainability reporting. So they would want some images, they'd want to showcase their uh, uh, initiatives through different uh, infographics and many other things, which BRSR doesn't entirely promote. But a very good thing about BRSR is the interoperability. So uh, if you are doing BRSR reporting, you don't have to again develop the report for GRI, for SASB or IR, because you've done the work once. I think it is possible to showcase that this particular KPI is relevant to GRI, this particular KPI is relevant to SASB, and all the mapping can be done within the report itself and can be included into the sustainability report. So I think I have covered the entirety in terms of BSR. I understand that this was a lot of content in half an hour, and we are open for questions. Uh, if there are any questions, I can definitely take it up. I think we've got another 4 minutes to finish off. If not, I think it's fair to say that let's talk about the other webinars. So there is an upcoming webinar on 5th of December on scope 3 emissions, and we're going to talk about the various categories and how which ones are relative to which industries. So we'll take examples from probably oil and gas industry and real estate industry, and we'll do one case study. We have already done 2 webinars on carbon accounting and why it is important for a particular company, and scope 1 and scope 2 emissions, and how to address that, how to deal with it. So all of you are feel free to visit our website, go to the event section, and all the recordings are there. In case you'd like to look at our platform and see a demo, I will be happy to do that for you. Feel free to contact us, visit our website, go to the website, and probably you can contact us, or you can write an email to me at himanshu.prajapati@sustainame.in, or you can call me as well. All right. If we don't have any questions, and if people are muted, I see one. Mr. Sudhakar says that we are all muted. Ravi, can we just look into it quickly? Or sorry, Mr. Sudhakar, can you post your question in the Q&A if that is possible? We'll wait for 1 more minute for Mr. Sudhakar to post the questions. Mr. Sudhakar, can you try once? I think you can unmute now. All right. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Probably we can connect after this meeting, and then we can sort out any questions or anything that you have. Great. Thank you all. You've been a lovely audience. In case you want to know more about our platform, please do connect with us. Let's be in touch. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.
Um, just 1 second, Himanshu. Prashant has got a question which is posted in Q&A.
Oh, great. Okay.
Is Prashant still here? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I think his question is right. What should be the approach for non-listed companies toward BRSR? Shall the non-listed companies go for it? That's a very intuitive question, sir. Thank you, Mr. Prashant, for this wonderful question. Uh, I think this is something that, in terms of compliance, yes, it is not a requirement, but it would be good if people are looking for launching an IPO, or if they are servicing companies which are mandated for BSR reporting, because that way they are actually helping their customers do their own reporting very well. Because eventually, if you look at the scope 3 emissions or any other initiatives, those have to be reported as part of the BRSR, and that is where I think the moment the value chain starts reporting on its own impact, it becomes easier for larger companies to report their own impact as well. So yes, I think it is a very good move from the non-listed companies to report, and they should definitely do that. And it's not just limited to BRSR. I think uh, BRSR is a very nice format that they can adopt and which is comparable, but people can do it otherwise as well. So a lot of companies have been releasing their GHG reports on their website, and that is something that has been really useful. So yes, it will be really useful for companies as well as investors. I hope I've been able to answer your question, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Himanshu.
All right, if there are no more questions, I think we can conclude this particular session. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thanks a lot.